All right, gang, it's that time again. Another day, another dollar to be made over on Prize Picks. Of course, we're talking NBA. We're going to look at some single stat player props for you. We're talking points, rebounds, assists, 3-point makes. We'll give you an over and under for each statistical category. And then if you're part of the live chat, you guys can go ahead and drop your favorite plays in there, and I'll go ahead and do that research for you live and in living color here on YouTube for you. So appreciate everybody who tunes into these live streams. Let's go ahead and run them likes up. You guys did a fantastic job yesterday. Not only did you hit a good like record, but we also had a lot of new subscribers. We also had a lot of winning picks from yesterday's video. So we're going to look to do the same in today's video. I think it's another opportunity for us to make some good money. If you don't play on Prize Picks yet, now's a fantastic time to do so. Promo code Curry gets you a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit all the way up to $100. So they're doing a dollar for dollar match on every dollar you put in. So you can use promo code Curry. Head over to prizepicks.com to take advantage of that offer today. I'll leave a link down in the description below. Now, of course, our research platform of choice is props.cash. If you're not using props.cash yet to do your player prop research, you're probably spending way too much time and doing player prop research wrong. Props.cash right now offers a $99.99 annual pass for NBA. So if you're into NBA, which is what this video is all about, Props.cash has you covered. Lots of testimonials here from the Twitter sphere. So you can see a lot of people are winning money using the Props.cash tools. You can kind of get an idea of what their mission is. They put up daily blogs, so that's very nice. And then you get an idea of what their price points are. If you don't want to do the full season pass, $19.99 gets you all sports on a month-to-month basis. I'll leave a link down in the description for that as well. I am an affiliate with props.cash, and if you use my affiliate link, I would be most thankful and appreciative. What's up, everybody who's joining in on the live stream? Up to 26 viewers. I appreciate you guys. Listen, I'm going to keep saying it day after day. If I could get everybody who's watching live to hit the like button, we'll be almost halfway to that daily goal of 100 or more likes on these streams. And some fantastic news for the channel. We surpassed 2,000 subscribers yesterday, so I am beyond honored and I am blessed to be able to call myself officially from this day forward CJ2K. That's right, CJ2K is in the building, bringing big entry energy to your Prize Picks day. So let's go ahead and run those subs up, run those likes up, and get into some player prop research. You know, as we always do, we take a look at the NBA slate before we dig into any props. So we've got Numberfire, which is a free site where you could go and get projections on both single stat player props, and you could get projections on fantasy points. So they've got you all covered there. It doesn't cost you anything but a free Google account. Sign up with a Gmail and you're all set. So let's run through the slate today. We got the Milwaukee Bucks at the Detroit Pistons. Game tips off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Out for Milwaukee, Brook Lopez, Dante DiVincenzo, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton. They're pretty depleted right now. Lots of injuries. All those guys are confirmed out according to Numberfire. Then at 7:30, we got the Miami Heat at the Dallas Mavericks. For the Miami Heat side, Bam Adebayo could be a major injury news. So keep an eye out on him. He's currently a game time decision. Victor Oladipo continues to be out, and Strus is also out for Miami. Over on the Dallas side, Kristaps Porzingis, an important piece of injury news. He's a game time decision. Also out is Maxi Kleber. He is confirmed out at the time of this live stream. Now at night here, 9 p.m., we've got the Sacramento Kings at the Utah Jazz. For the Sacramento side, we've got Rudy Gay out. Is he on Sacramento? Man, I don't know what team he's on anymore, but that's the only injury news. Rudy Gay is going to be out for either team. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, New Orleans Pelicans at the Phoenix Suns. Lots of injury news to look out for on both sides. Of course, Zion Williamson already ruled out for New Orleans. He's trying to get his weight under control, trying to get that foot right. The poor guy can't stay healthy, it seems, so far in his early young career. But we got Garrett Temple, Devontae Graham, and Brandon Ingram all on the injury report. Those are three huge ones for the New Orleans Pelicans roster. And then on the Phoenix side, DeAndre Ayton's a game-time decision. We've got Dario Saric and Cameron Payne already ruled out for Phoenix. If we go down a little further here for the last game of the slate, 10:30 p.m., the late night hammer, the Houston Rockets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. We've got Jayshawn Tate, Daniel Tice, and Daniel House Jr. all on the injury report. House Jr., the only one confirmed to be out. And then on the other side of things, the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James is a game time decision. We got Wayne Ellington to be looking out for, Dwight Howard to be looking out for, and then already ruled out Trevor Ariza, Kendrick Nunn, and Taylor Horton Tucker. So kind of a smaller NBA slate today. So that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect from these games. Be on the lookout for injury news. Last night's injury news was kind of crazy, and I think I got caught in a trap. What I mean by that was for Philadelphia, we knew we had Joel Embiid already out, but then later toward lock, Tobias Harris ended up being ruled out as well, which caused me to go on a mad scramble and lock some players in my entries. Seth Curry over points ended up working out. Danny Green over points ended up working out. Danny Green over 1.5 3-point makes ended up working out. But the one guy I loaded up on that I felt really super sure about was Tyrese Maxey over points. Tyrese Maxey did not go over points. In fact, he was almost more of an afterthought for the Philadelphia 76ers offense last night. They seemed to really spread the basketball around. They were playing more team ball. I thought for sure with Tyrese Maxey averaging around 15 points per game that the dude was going to go over his point prop of 14.5. I think that's where he was. Didn't even come close, though. He was like a few points shy. So that one really burned me. And I think this goes without saying, this probably can relate to just about everyone out there. Once Scotty Barnes was ruled out for the Toronto Raptors, we all probably migrated, at least I did, to two guys, OG Anunoby and Chris Boucher. Now, OG Anunoby over points, OG Anunoby over 3-point makes, worked out beautifully. He had a huge game. Chris Boucher, I don't know what in the world that guy was doing with the time that he spent out there on the court, but there was like 2 or 3 quarters where this dude was sitting at -1 fantasy points. I took the over on 20.5 fantasy points thinking for sure he's going to smash. The guy was running laps. Can we say that? I mean, I had more fantasy points than he did at halftime sitting on my couch at home. This guy was at -1 fantasy points. I had 0 fantasy points and had more of a contribution on my entries than he did. Chris Boucher, you're not dead to me, but man, you are a pain in the you know what. So anyway, that was last night. Those were my 2 biggest frustrations. Tyrese Maxey, Chris Boucher. Those guys come through. I'm having a great night. But unfortunately, I was way overweight on both of them. And so my night wasn't as great as it possibly could have been. But screw those guys. Screw those guys. That was last night. It's a new day and new money to be made. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk some player point props. And we'll look at some of the highest hit rates here. And we'll start things off with Harrison Barnes at 17.5 points. As you can see, guys, 83.3% hit rate so far. That's a very good way to go. Rudy Gobert, who's at 13.5 points, 83.3% hit rate so far. So we got 2 really good over options here. Let's see if Harrison Barnes is up on the board. He is. And he's actually on a bit of a discount so far here on PrizePicks at just 16.5 points. Of course, if you think back for the last couple of days, he's been at 17.5 points. So they dropped him down to a point. So let's go ahead and dig into Harrison Barnes' point prop here using props.cash with this smaller NBA slate we've got tonight. Harrison Barnes at 17.5. Let's look at his last 5 games. The last 10 games aren't all the way populated yet. What I mean by that is that there's still 4 games from last season in his game log, so we kind of don't want to pay too much attention to those. But you can see that in his last 5 games, guys, he's covered in 4 out of his last 5. So things are looking really good so far for Harrison Barnes, but a little bit concerning. You see how these bars are trending downward for Harrison Barnes. 25, 24, 22, 18, and 15. He's got 5 straight games of points regression or a decline in his scoring. So it's a little bit troublesome, a little bit worrisome that things are starting to kind of slope down. We would like to see them like up or even just maintain, right, at that 16, 17 point mark, but things are starting to slide a little bit. Now, currently he's a -118 to go over today's point prop of 17.5. Of course, if you play on PrizePicks, you're getting him at 16.5, which doesn't really change his hit rate at all, but gives you a little bit of a discount over on PrizePicks. So definitely cool to get those little bits of value that you can get sometimes on PrizePicks when they round the lines up or down. Now, I could see why he's probably at 16.5 points according to props.cash, because if you look at the Utah defense overall, they rank 4th. They're one of the toughest defenses in the entire NBA. So there's no mistake about that. We can't beat around the bush. They're a tough team. 3rd overall in points allowed, 12th overall in field goals allowed, and then in terms of 3-pointers allowed, they rank 1st. So he's not going to get a lot of three-point looks. And even if he does, maybe he doesn't make a high percentage. And they rank 5th against small forwards. So make no mistake about it, this will be a tough matchup here for Harrison Barnes. Scrolling down here, though, you get an idea of how many minutes he's getting per game. Over 37 minutes per game. Fantastic minute per game average. He's out there getting plenty of minutes. And likewise, getting a good opportunity when it comes to shooting the basketball. 20, 13, 18, 9, and 16 for an average of about 15.2 field goal attempts per game. You'd like to see this kind of level out at like 15 or more attempts. Some of these games where he's got just 13 or 9, a little bit concerning. And then you go down to the 3-point category, 6, 10, 6, 3, and 8. Overall, he's shooting about 6.6 3-pointers per game. So that kind of gives you an idea of Harrison Barnes' involvement on the Sacramento Kings offense, some of the defensive struggles that he might run into against this tough Utah Jazz team as well. Now we're going to do what we always do. We're going to cap this player prop off by looking at a projection for Harrison Barnes. And they've got him at 18.3 points, guys, so they expect a little bit of a bounce-back game after dropping just 15 points in his last game. Despite the tough matchup against Utah, Number Fire likes him to go for at least 18 points tonight, so the over might be a great way to go here for Harrison Barnes. So with that one out of the way, let's talk about another one from this game that kind of stood out, and that's Rudy Gobert at 13.5. I've been hitting you with 2 overs daily, or an over and an under daily. I'm going to hit you with 2 overs today because this is another one that's got a high hit rate at 83.3%. So let's talk about the big man for the Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert. He is at 13.5 points over on props.cash as well. So that kind of indicates that on most sports books out there, in comparison to PrizePicks, you're going to find him at 13.5 on both sites. So not really seeing any value in terms of difference between PrizePicks and the sports books. That's one thing that I like to look for. But in his last 5 games, 16.4 points per game average. You can see he's covered in 4 out of his last 5. Good for an 80% cover rate. Currently a minus 122 to go over. So we're seeing the action come in on the over 13.5 points. Let's look at the defensive matchup here against Sacramento. And boy, am I seeing a lot of green here. Sacramento's defense, not one of the better ones in the entire NBA. Their overall defensive rating, dead last in the league. So this is a very soft matchup, a plus situation here for Rudy Gobert tonight. They're allowing the 28th most points in the entire league. 30th in terms of field goals allowed, 13th in three-pointers allowed, which doesn't matter whatsoever with Rudy Gobert. If this guy's attempting a three-pointer, it's probably because it's a buzzer beater or something like that, so we ain't got to worry about that. But here's the one that really does matter. They're 21st in the entire NBA in DVP, defense versus position. Rudy Gobert's position, obviously center, so they're not good against opposing big men. So I think things are shaping up pretty well here for a good spot to go over once again on Rudy Gobert at 13.5. 31.3 minutes per game in his last 5, seeing a healthy run of minutes for a big dude. Of course, he's never going to attempt a high volume in terms of field goal attempts. He's going to stay between the 8 and 9 range. Most of the time, he's going to be a rim runner, a pick and roll type of guy, an offensive rebounder who puts the ball back for those easy buckets. That's where Rudy Gobert is going to make his living. So get an idea, though, of how things are stacking up here for Rudy Gobert. It looks like a soft matchup to me. Let's get you a projection on his points prop tonight and see what we're liking for Rudy Gobert. They got him at 13.1 points, guys. So that puts him in the neighborhood, in the same neck of the woods as 13.5, but not quite there. So kind of gives you an idea, a couple of point props to take a look at. I'm going with 2 overs today because of the high hit rates, and I do like both of these guys from the way things are looking. Harrison Barnes versus Rudy Gobert, I'm probably favoring the over on Gobert, maybe a little bit more than Barnes. So no, if you wanted to make a decision, who do you like better? Probably Gobert due to the matchup, despite the projections being under. Thank you so much for everybody who's tuning in. We're at 65 viewers. If all 65 of you could leave a like on this video, I could die a happy man. If my life were to come to an end right now, I'd die a happy man. But I appreciate you guys supporting the stream. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next statistical category here on props.cash. We're going to be looking at assists, and let's try and identify a couple of assist props with a high hit rate. Right now, not seeing Jalen Green on the board, but at 2.5 assists, he's gone over 66.7% of the time. And to be honest with you guys, there's just not a lot of high assist rate hit rate props here right now. We got Russell Westbrook at 8.5 at 57% hit rate. Giannis at 6.5 at a 57% hit rate. But with all the injuries to the Milwaukee Bucks, let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, because maybe his assist numbers go up a little bit with the likes of Drew Holiday, DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton already being ruled out for this game. So let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, probably one of the more popular players on tonight's slate. So Milwaukee taking on Detroit. We're going to look at the assist category here on props.cash. If you want to sign up for props.cash, there's a link down in the description of this video that you can use. Fantastic tool. Loving it so far. So we'll switch things up to the assist category. He's at 6.5 in his last 5 games. Guys, just a 3 out of 5 hit rate, but that's still above 50%, right? That puts him at 60%. Then his average over that span, 6.6 assists, which puts him slightly over today's prop of 6.5. Now, currently, he's a minus 118 to go over. The biggest thing for me is Giannis going to play a full complement of minutes? With all the injuries, I expect this game to probably be a little bit closer than it would be otherwise. Obviously, Milwaukee, a lot better team than Detroit when both teams are fully healthy, but Milwaukee is not even close to being fully healthy. So I'm a little worried that this game ends up being a little bit closer than what it would be otherwise. So I don't mind Giannis Antetokounmpo over assists here, because I think this game does end up being somewhat competitive. Overall, though, in terms of assists allowed, you see that Detroit ranks 15th. They're right in the middle of the NBA, an average team in terms of assists allowed to the opposition. If you go down here, you can get an idea of how Giannis's minutes have played out so far in his last 5 games, playing over 34 minutes per game. Not really worried about that, but it's really the injuries that open up some opportunity here for Giannis. Is he going to take on more of a score-heavy role without his wingman Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday in there? Or is he going to take on a do-everything role? I think that's more the role that he probably takes on tonight. Kind of doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Let's get you a projection here for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They got him at 6.1 assists, which puts him, again, really close to 6.5. Not seeing any super edges or anything like that, but it's pretty close, guys. 6.1, 6.5. So if you trust in the projections on Number Fire, that kind of gives you an idea of where you should be going with this Giannis Antetokounmpo assist prop. They say go under, but, you know, you'll have to make that one up. That's a tough one for me. I don't know that I would be playing that prop. Let's look at a potential underplay, and we're talking about Mike Conley Jr. at 5.5 assists. Now, he's at 5.5 on most sports books out there. So if you don't play on PrizePicks, well, you're going to probably want to click the under on 5.5. If you do play on PrizePicks, you still might want to click the under on 5 assists, because his game logs aren't looking very good here. So let's dig in a little bit deeper on Mike Conley Jr., who has a 0% hit rate to go over 5.5 assists this season. He just hasn't been getting it done for the Utah Jazz. So tonight, obviously, they're taking on the Sacramento Kings. I'd expect this one to be a blowout, which when there's a blowout, I look at guys like Mike Conley Jr., who's getting up there in years, right? He's a veteran. If this game gets out of hand by the 3rd quarter, early in the 4th quarter, he's probably going to see the bench early in this one, meaning he may not get that full run of minutes that he would in a more close and competitive game. So something to keep in mind. But as you can see, guys, it's a sea of red on his last 5 game chart here. 4 assists, 3 assists, 5 assists, 4 assists, 2 assists. Now that's at 5.5. If we bump this down to 5, you'll see things change just a little bit. So this is for all you PrizePicks players out there. Against Denver, he ended up with 5 assists, which would be a push, which isn't the end of the world. It's not the worst thing that could happen. It's definitely not worse than going opposite of what you take, right? We'll take a push versus a loss any day of the week. Over his last 5 games, 3.6 assists per game average, and he's currently a betting favorite to go under at minus 132 at 5.5 assists. So things are looking good here for Mike Conley. In terms of assists allowed, the Sacramento Kings rank 18th, meaning that they're kind of a middle of the pack team when it comes to allowing assists. This isn't necessarily a super strong plus matchup for Mike Conley Jr., so not too worried about him at all. Then you look at his minutes, they're kind of all over the place, but averaging under 30 minutes per game, so that's going to work out for us if this game does blow out. Like this game against Houston was a blowout where he only got 23.7 minutes, not even 24 minutes. That's probably about where he's going to be tonight, around that 24-25 minute range if the Utah Jazz come in and handle business like they should. So let's cap this off here. We are looking at a projection for Mike Conley Jr.'s assists. And you can see tonight, guys, they got him going slightly under 5.5. 5.4, obviously closer to 5 than it is 6. So I'd be going under on this player prop. Even at 5, worst case scenario, I think this one ends up being a push for you. So that does it for the assist category. We are going to do a little rebound action next. Look at some rebounds. I appreciate all 76 of you that are tuning in right now. Thank you for the support. Again, if you could like this video, make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that those notifications are turned on too, because when I go live, I wanted to send you out a little ping so you don't forget, and so you don't miss these live streams, so you can get your questions to me so I can answer them for you live on stream. So notifications are clutch, especially when you play on PrizePicks, because we know PrizePicks does not waste time moving some of these player props. So we got to make sure that we're getting the best prop possible as soon as we can. All right, so let's talk about some rebound props next. We've got Richaun Holmes at 8.5 boards, and at 8.5 boards, an 83.3% hit rate. That's a huge, huge hit rate. Right now, he's a minus 124 betting favorite to go under 8.5 though. And you can see over on PrizePicks, they got him up at 8 boards. 8 rebounds presents a little bit of value versus where he's at on opposing sports books, right? So we'll take that. And you look at the quick glimpse of his game logs here, thanks to the PrizePicks player card, you got 10, 12, 12, fall short against New Orleans with 6, going up against Jonas Valanciunas. That was a tough matchup for him. But then he comes back strong against Dallas with 13 boards. So 4 out of 5 games, he's actually gone over. That's a good 80% hit rate. So let's dig in a little bit deeper here on this player prop for Richaun Holmes. We've already got the Sacramento Kings and Utah Jazz game dialed in here on props.cash. So all we have to do is go find Richaun Holmes at 8.5 boards. And we'll scroll up here, make sure this is set to total rebounds, and we've got that pulled up. And you can see now that at 8.5 boards, like we mentioned, over his last 5 games, 80% hit rate. Now, if we bump this down to 8 rebounds, not a lot's going to change here, except some of these averages end up lighting up green, going from red to green, because now that we moved it down to 8, his averages exceed 8, so that's why they turn green. But you can see over the course of the season, 8.3 rebounds per game, average last 10, 8.1 rebounds per game. But in his last 5 has been a monster at 10.4 rebounds per game. Now, worth noting, there's a little red patch here in this player prop. 7.3 rebounds per game against Utah last season. And this season, I guess you could say. We got 3 previous games against this Utah Jazz team. 2 of the games he finished with 10 boards. 1 of the games he finished with 2 boards. But worth noting that real recently here on October 22nd against the Utah Jazz, he finished with 10 boards. So he definitely has proven that this year he can get it done against the Utah Jazz and the likes of Rudy Gobert. So let's move it down here. We'll take a look at this Utah Jazz defense. You can kind of get an idea. Overall, they rank 4th. We talked about them being a tough defense. In terms of rebounds allowed, they rank 7th overall in the league. Offensive rebounds allowed 15th, and defensive rebounds 5th. And then in terms of center defense, no surprise here with Rudy Gobert manning the middle, they rank number 1 in the NBA in rebound or center defense, I should say. So let's get you a projection here on this Richaun Holmes prop. We'll dial it in, type in his name onto NumberFire, and they've got him at 9.3 boards, guys. They like the over. And at 8 rebounds on PrizePicks, I especially like the value that we're getting. We're seeing about a 1.3 rebound difference on Richaun Holmes. So due to the high hit rate, due to the projections, I think things are going to be good here on an over for Richaun Holmes. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Dustin, we are using props.cash to do our player research. The site that's currently on screen is NumberFire. So we got props.cash to do our player prop research. If you're looking for something predictive, something that will give you projections like single stat player props, fantasy point props, use numberfire.com. It's free. So if you like free stuff, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go to NumberFire. That's one of the better sites out there. All right, let's look at a rebound prop that might be a good way to go under. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're at over 81 viewers at the moment. Thank you. I'm much appreciated. Leave a like on this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And leave your questions in chat. I'm going to get to them after we cover this last rebound prop. We're going to look at some 3-point props, and then I'm going to the chat, and we're going to answer as many questions as I humanly can. So thank you guys for tuning in. Mike Conley is another guy who's been going under his rebound prop at 3.5. You can already see that the 0% hit rate's looking extra good. So not only is he not getting it done with the assist category, he's not getting it done with the rebound category. So let's go ahead and talk Mike Conley Jr. once again. We're going to give you two different ways to play Mike Conley Jr. Let's dig in. We're going back to the Sacramento-Utah game. And if you can get Mike Conley at 3.5 rebounds on whatever site you play your player props on, I would run and go lock the under in on that. Now, at 3 rebounds, it's probably more of a situation where it could lead to a push, but again, not the worst case scenario, right? So Mike Conley in his last 5 games, 0 for 5, a 0% hit rate. He has not covered this prop once in his last 5 games. So that leads to a 1.8 rebound per game average, 2.4 rebound per game over his last 10, and 3.3 for the season. Now, one little piece of information, 4.7 rebounds per game last year against the Sacramento Kings. Well, in the last 3, I should say. 2 games from last year, 1 game from this year. But his role has seemingly changed quite a bit with Utah. Just not getting it done across the board. We talked about the under on his assists looking like a good way to go. The under on the rebounds also looking like kind of a good way to go here so far. Let's roll down here and look at the Sacramento defense. You can see that overall, not a very good defensive team. We talked about that a little bit previously. In terms of rebounds allowed, they rank 20th, so they are kind of a giving team, giving the other teams opportunities to rebound the basketball. But we know that Mike Conley is a little point guard. He's not Donovan Mitchell or even Rudy Gobert or even Royce O'Neal, meaning he's not going to be on the boards like some of these other guys. Okay, so we can feel kind of comfortable here about going under at 3.5 boards or 3 rebounds. But let's cap it off. Let's get you a projection for Mike Conley Jr. And if you guys are loving the stream, let me know by dropping a like, dropping a comment on this video after it goes up. You can watch the replay always. So if you don't catch these live and you can't make it, you can catch the replay at any given time. 3.4 rebounds, though, is the projection for Mike Conley. So at 3, might be a little risky, but at 3.5, I'm definitely clicking the under all day long. So if you don't play on PrizePicks, you can get him at 3.5 somewhere else. Go get it. But if you would like to play on PrizePicks, again, promo code Curry, getting you that 100% instant deposit match, a dollar for dollar price match on every dollar you put in, all the way up to $100, guys. Take advantage by going to prizepicks.com or use the link down in the description of this video. So we've talked a couple of rebound props, which brings us to the home stretch. And we're going to look at 3-point makes. Now, last night, some 3-point makes that absolutely hit was OG Anunoby. That was a good one. Danny Green, if you got him at 1.5 3-point makes and you took the over, that one hit. One of the ones that didn't hit that I was hoping would work out was Desmond Bane. I thought for sure that he was going to go over his prop, but did not. CJ McCollum was another one that I really liked that ended up working out. Kemba Walker worked out. We talked about all of these, I think most of these in the stream yesterday. So that is a good bit of info. If you guys are missing these streams, you're just missing out on some good gems here. So we talked Harrison Barnes points. I don't want to talk about him again. Christian Wood not currently on the board. Shoot, Harrison Barnes isn't even on the board. What am I talking about? Grayson Allen, is he up on the board? Not seeing Grayson Allen up on the board. All these guys have very high hit rates on their 3-point props. LeBron James at 2.5, not seeing him up on the board. Mike Conley, 2.5. He is on the board, and he's been hitting at a 60% hit rate, but I'm not liking that. Let's see what we got for some unders. Bogdanovich, a 0% hit rate at 2.53. So let's talk about him. Now, they've already done their job. That is the PrizePicks lines makers that I'm referring to. And their job is to move these lines up or down. So they've shaved the hook off of this prop. That 0.5, that's the hook. They've taken it off. They've rounded it down to 2. So that could lead to a push situation on this particular player prop. But let's go ahead and talk about it anyway. Bogdanovich, back to the Sacramento-Utah game. We're talking about a lot of props from this game. We're going to get to your questions in just a moment, so maybe we can diversify the stream a little bit. I know PrizePicks doesn't have all the props yet up on the board as they await injury news, but at least we can dig into it even if they're not up on PrizePicks for you. So let's switch this up from total rebounds to 3-point field goals made. And my, oh my, is that a lot of red we're seeing here in his last 5 games, averaging just 1.6 3-point makes. If we take this from 2.5 and move it down to 2, you're going to see that some of this red turns to gray. So let's do that now. Boom. So against Sacramento had 2, which is tonight's opponent, worth noting. 2 against Houston, 2 against Chicago. Those would all be ties or pushes in this case, but he still has 2 unders versus Denver versus Milwaukee. Now, last year against Sacramento in the last 3 games, I should say, against the Kings, averaging just 1.3 3-point makes. So he had 2 games where he hit 2 and 1 game where he went under, and actually another game where he went under with just 0. So let's move it down here. Look at the Sacramento Kings defense. We've talked about them a little bit. Overall, their defensive rating dead last. We mentioned that. They're 13th, though, against 3-pointers allowed. So they're actually kind of a more stingier defense against the 3-ball. So this could be a tough matchup here for Bogdanovic. If Sacramento gets out there on that 3-point line, closes out on shooters like Bogdanovic, gets up in his jersey, then he won't have that comfortable shooting space to get that 3-ball off. Let's go down and look at his minutes because they've been all over the place. 33, 28.9, let's call it 29, 25, 32, 31. So he's averaging about 30.2 minutes per game, so a little over 30 minutes per game in his last 5. Looking more closely at the 3-point attempts that he gets per game, averaging right around 5 to 6 3-pointers attempted per game. Now on that 5 to 6 number, he's only converting at a pretty miserable clip here at 40%, 20%, 33%, 33%, 20%. So he's not shooting the ball very well coming out of the gates this season. So I'm liking the under here so far at 2.5. And at 2, I think worst case, it ends up being a push. He's just not hitting the 3-ball with great regularity. I don't have a projection. Unfortunately, Number Fire doesn't give you any type of 3-point prop projection. So we'll close things out on Bogdanovic just by saying that so far, guys, it's looking like an underplay for me. And let's talk about one more 3-point prop. It's going to be another under. The unders have been hitting. We're going to discuss Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks at 3.5 3-point makes, currently at a 0% hit rate. Has not covered this prop even once this year. And you can see PrizePicks is already ahead of the curve, already ahead of the game. They've rounded this prop from 3.5 down to 3. So in the worst case scenario, it looks like it could end up being a push situation. Thank you, guys. We're up to 90 viewers. That might be an all-time high. I'm just saying 90 viewers right now on the stream. Guys, if every one of you left a like on this video, we would smash today's like goal of 100 likes. I'm just saying, all it takes, you just move that little mouse down or move that little finger down, hit that up button, that thumbs up button, and drop a like if you're feeling what I'm doing here today. So let's go ahead and look at Luka Doncic and his 3-point field goals made. We're going to change it up. Miami taking on Dallas, probably one of the better games on the slate. Let's click Luka's name and we'll go back up here to props.cash and give you an idea of how Luka's been doing from beyond the arc. So at 3.5, guys, 5 straight games, not even coming close to 4 3-point makes. The closest he's come is 3 3-point makes against the San Antonio Spurs. Otherwise, averaging just 1.6 3-point makes in his last 5. Now against Miami last year, 2 games in the game log. 1 game he had 3, 1 game he had 5. So 1 under and 1 over. 50% cover rate in that situation. Now, do things change a little bit? Yeah, they change a little bit. When you move it from 3.5 down to 3, you get that push situation, which is indicated by this gray bar. He ended up with exactly 3 3-point makes. Let's look at this Heat defense, though, because they are a tough defense, one of the tougher ones in the league. Overall, they're ranking 8th on the season. So a top 10 defensive team, but where they struggle is against the 3-ball. So they rank just 27th in terms of 3-pointers allowed. They're one of the most giving, one of the most friendliest matchups if you're looking to take some 3-pointers. So, you know, do with that what you will. And then in terms of guarding shooting guards, you know, Luka's kind of more of like a, what would we call him, a combo guard. He's like a shooting guard body, but a point guard in his role, more of a facilitator. He really does a little bit of everything for Dallas, though, doesn't he? If we're being fair. In his last 5 games, though, he's averaging almost 34 minutes per game. Looking at his 3-point attempts, since that's what prop we're taking a look at here. 10 attempts, 6, 8, 4, 7. So 10, kind of an outlier here. He's probably closer to that 6 to 7 range on most nights. You see one other outlier. I would call this an outlier. A low of 4, a high of 10. So I think we're somewhere around the 6 to 8 3-point attempts tonight. But he's not shooting a very good percentage, guys. 14%, 25%, 38, 17, 20. Not very good whatsoever. So I'm not really worried about Luka making a whole bunch of threes. Can he get hot? Yeah, but you know, so can anybody else. But I'm gonna going to lean on the under on this one. And if you're on Prize Picks, maybe it turns into a push. That's it for me. Now let's get to you. Let's go to the chat. Let's see what you guys are dropping in here. And let's start smashing some of these player props that you guys have left in the stream for me. Going back up to the top of the board here, top of the chat, I should say. Kevin says, good morning all. Good morning to you, Kevin. Kevin says, congrats on 2,000 subscribers. That's right. I'm officially CJ2K until I'm CJ3K, that is. But until further notice, CJ2K is in the building. Asin says, top of the top. Let's get to this bag. Let's get to the bag, bro. That's what we're here. We're trying to find some good plays for you guys, and I think I've already landed on quite a few of them. Thank you so much to the 89 viewers that are tuning into the live stream. Travis, hey, yo, doing his best. Razor Ramon. Scott Hall, what's up, Travis? Good to see you back joining us this morning. Hayden says, I'm liking Fox under on points and Conley under on rebounds and assists. Well, I don't know that I'm from the future, but I will say that we have talked about both Conley's under on rebounds and on assists. As far as Fox under on points, I don't think that's one that we've discussed yet. So let's talk about it. Let's go to De'Aaron Fox. He's at 22.5 points. You're liking the under on his points. Let's see why. Well, his game logs are looking pretty suspect. I can see why now. 12 points in his previous matchup against Utah. That's tonight's opponent, Sacramento at Utah. 17 against Golden State, 18 against Phoenix. Comes back with a little overplay here with 23, just barely getting over that 22.5 point prop. And then just 14 against Dallas. So yes, the under on De'Aaron Fox's points looks like a potential diamond in the rough out of this game here. And especially if you consider the fact that Utah could potentially blow out the Sacramento Kings. So let's pull up De'Aaron Fox real quick. We can get a closer look at this point prop. He's at 23.5 on props.cash. So if you could get him at 23.5 on some other sports book or site, run, don't walk, and take the under on this prop would be my initial reaction. But if we move it down to 22.5, a little bit of the value is sucked out of this player prop on Prize Picks. Still at 23.5, he's a minus 118 to go over. His last 5 games, not very good, averaging under 17 points. And against Utah in his previous matchups, just 21 points per game. So yes, all signs look to be pointing toward the under on De'Aaron Fox and this point prop. If we look at the defensive rankings for Utah, we talked about him a little bit before. We're going to hit on him again. 4th overall in total defense, 7th overall in point guard defense. So this should be a tough, difficult matchup here for De'Aaron Fox. Let's finish it off, though. We'll give you a projection for his points according to numberfire.com. If any of you out there have any connections to any of the major DFS sites who offer NBA projections or anything like that, I'd love to get them to kind of sponsor the projection side of this. We've already got props.cash doing their thing in terms of like, the player prop research. But if somebody wanted to step in here and, sponsor the projection side of things, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? But for now, it's Numberfire. 23.4 points is where they have him projected, going slightly over 22.5. So again, if you could get him at 23.5 somewhere else, take the under. 22.5, maybe a little bit too close for comfort. So there you have it. De'Aaron Fox not doing a good job scoring the basketball to start things off here. Love that prop. That was a good one. Appreciate you dropping that into the chat. 90 viewers. Man, I love all you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. What else do we have here? Corey says, finally made it live. Had some bad beats yesterday. Yeah, there was a few plays that didn't work out, man. I tried to be reactive to the news with the Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris being ruled out, with the Scotty Barnes being out, and I got a lot right, but the ones that I went heavy on, Tyrese Maxey over 14.5 points, did not work out. Chris Boucher over 20.5 fantasy points, absolutely did not work out. So yeah, those were my personal bad beats. Oh yeah, and Mahomes rushing yards did not go over 21.5 rushing yards, but that was yesterday. We got to put that in the rear view and keep moving down the road. James says, let's win some money. Man, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Said, thanks for joining the stream once again. He's leaving the fire emojis. Yeah, we're spitting some flames here this morning. Thank you so much. Many blessings back to you. Corey says, time to study up. Yeah, hopefully these videos, these live streams are helping you cut back on the amount of time that you have to study. I'll do all the studying and the player prop research for you. Anthony says, good morning. Let's get this money. Good morning to you, Anthony. Says some bad and good beats, but research was done. Research was done. Look, guys, it's not always going to work out. Props.cash is not a crystal ball that is going to accurately predict exactly what will happen on any given night. I think most of you out there are reasonable and understand that aspect of the sports betting scene. It doesn't always work out the way you think it will. So Nick Gomez says Gobert over rebounds. Well, we did talk Gobert over points, but yeah, we can talk some Rudy Gobert over rebounds. Now, the big thing with the Rudy Gobert props is, this game is probably going to be a blowout, right? We got to make sure that Rudy Gobert at least gets enough minutes, at least gets enough run. We looked at his minutes. He's right around 30 minutes per game, that he can actually have enough time out on the court to go over 13.5 boards. But let's go ahead and look at Rudy Gobert. We've talked a ton about Sacramento and Utah. There's going to be a lot of redundancy in these games, being that it is such a small slate. So the scope, the size of the player props that we can really focus in on is smaller. And that's kind of an advantage for a site like PrizePicks. As you can see, they're already rounding things, rounding them up, rounding them down. So kind of stinks when there's not as many plays on the board. Limits our opportunities to find good value, but that's okay. That's all right. We're going to find it anyway. So he's at 14.5 boards out on most sports books. Now, this submission here by Nick, he likes the over on Rudy Gobert rebounds. So here's an opportunity for some value, right? We're seeing him at 14.5 on some sports books, but he's only at 13.5 over on PrizePicks. That's a 1 rebound difference. And sometimes, guys, that 1 rebound makes all the difference in the world. The difference between cashing and not cashing, winning an entry and not winning an entry. But let's look at his game logs. 3 out of 5, a 60% hit rate at 14.5 boards. If we dial this down to 13.5, things improve drastically. He goes from 60% to 80%, a much higher hit rate, covering in 4 out of his last 5 games. And the one game that he didn't cover was against the Milwaukee Bucks. He finished with 13 boards, coming really, really close to that 13.5 number. Overall, though, guys, 14.3 rebounds per game in his previous matchups against the Sacramento Kings. Some of these games, obviously 3 of them are from last season, 11, 10, and 16. And then that one game against Sacramento earlier this season on 10/22, 20 big boards for Rudy Gobert. So we scroll down here, we look at the Sacramento defense in terms of rebounds, 20th ranked in terms of rebounds. So they're not a tough team to rebound against. And we know Rudy Gobert, one of the best rebounders in the league. Offensive rebounds, they are 28th in the league and 19th in the league in defensive rebounds. And their center defense stinks. They stink to high hell. It's 21st overall as their center defensive rank. So liking this prop so far at 13.5, I think we're getting a little bit of a discount, a little bit of a value play here on Rudy Gobert. And you can see that he is projected on numberfire.com at 14.4 rebounds, putting him over 13.5. So do I love it at 14.5? Not so much. Do I love it at 13.5? Yeah, I do like the over on this one. Good call out. Appreciate you sharing that one, Nick. Says Miles Bridges just couldn't get it going. Now look, Miles Bridges was a fade for me because Terry Rozier's back in the mix. Terry Rozier's throwing the dynamic off a little bit. I think he's throwing a little bit of a monkey wrench into the plans of Miles Bridges. He might cut into it again, but listen, the shots were there for Miles Bridges. They were. He had opportunities to go over. He just didn't get it done. Triple G says, just got in. What did I miss? Guys, if you can help folks who are just coming into the live stream, leave some of the favorite plays that we've talked about and looked at so far. I know we talked Mike Conley under assists, Mike Conley under rebounds. We liked Luka Doncic, I think, under 3-point makes. He hasn't been doing a good job with that. So those are some options that you can go. Kristaps trash. That helps the Mavs. Said doesn't like Kristaps Porzingis. I think that's what he's saying. Says Bron will probably miss. Anthony says, do you update this on your Patreon? Yes, me, and with help from Britt, one of our community members, we put out little cheat sheets every night that kind of gives you a site-by-site sort of projection comparison, we'll say, a comparative analysis, PrizePicks projections versus like some of the other sites out there. Just ways to kind of help you kind of cut back on research and stuff. You know, there's a bunch of us in there in the private channels that talk back and forth. So if you want to join Patreon, now's a great time to do it because it is the start of a new month. And you'll be good for the entire month of November. It's just $20. One winning night on PrizePicks. I mean, you earn your Patreon membership money back. You can win $20 in one entry, right? So it goes a long way in helping support me, what I do here for you on YouTube. So if you want to join a community that's prize picks and player prop focused, I would recommend you check out Patreon. There's a link down in the description below. Thanks for that question, Anthony. Monty says, Jokic really burned me. Yeah, I saw your comment. I think you left a comment on a video last night that Jokic didn't do what Jokic was supposed to do, and it'd be like that sometimes. It really do. Says, I was under on Van Vliet assists. He turned into John Stockton. Yeah, Van Vliet's been kind of a tricky one to figure out this season. Just when you think he's going to go under, he goes over. And then when you take the over, he disappoints. Julius Randle got me on his rebounds. Needed one more. Yeah, that was one that came really close. I think he was at 9.5 boards. Ended up finishing with 9. So, yeah, that was unfortunate for Jay Randle. Breadwinner says, took him under. Nurse hates him. He took the Fred VanVleet unders, saying Nick Nurse does not like Fred VanVleet. Interesting. Monty, Randle is another one that burned me as well. Those rebounds, I tend to stay away from him. Yeah, Randle's kind of a hard one to predict when it comes to rebounds. Nick, Fox under 1.5 threes. Well, we talked about Fox being a good way to go in terms of going under on his points, but if you like the under on his points, then I think under on his threes is another good look. We talked about the tough matchup against Utah. You can kind of get a glimpse of the last 5 games according to his player card here on PrizePicks. 0 against Utah in their previous matchup on October 22nd, and then just 1, 1, 1, and 1. So yeah, I would definitely be leaning toward the under on De'Aaron Fox, given the matchup and given the historical statistics that indicate he can't make 2 3-pointers so far this season. So yeah, really like that one. That's a strong prop. If you don't want to take the under on the points for De'Aaron Fox, take the under on the 3-point makes. Kings have had some prop beasts, but Utah is playing well. Yeah, Utah, tough defensive team. Nick Show says Luka, 24.5 points. Well, we talked Luka under 3-point makes. If you can get him at 3.5 3-point makes, definitely take the under. I'd probably still lean toward the under on 3. Hope for a push in the worst case scenario. But Luka Doncic in terms of points, 24.5, man. This seems like a prop that was up at around like 26.5, 28.5 in some previous games. So the fact that he's all the way down to 24.5 is maybe presenting a little bit of value, but let's go back and look at his game logs. 27 against Toronto, 26 against Houston, 25 against San Antonio, just 16 points against Denver, and 23, it says, against Dallas. But of course, he plays for Dallas, so he can't be facing the Dallas Mavericks in that one. But let's go ahead and look at Luka Doncic here and his points prop under a magnifying glass thanks to props.cash. That's what this site is. Some of you who are just entering the chat have never watched this stream before. We use props.cash to do the research that you're seeing here on the left-hand side, my left-hand side. So we'll click Luka Doncic here. We'll dial this into the points category, and we'll switch things up. Instead of 25.5, which is where he's at on most sports books, we'll bring it down to 24.5. And his graph, his bar graph here changes to more green and less red. So 27, 26, 25, 16, and 23. Overall, his last 5 averaging just 23.4 points, indicating an under should be a look that we should consider. At 25.5 points, people are actually taking the over, minus 116 at the moment to go over. So if they're liking the over at 25.5, should we be thinking about the over at 24.5? I don't know. Looking at 2 previous game logs against Miami from last season, 27 in one matchup against Miami back on 1-1, and then 23 against Miami back on 5-4. So that kind of gives you an idea. He hit one game, and the other game he did not hit. So 50% hit rate in 2 previous games from last season. We talked Miami's defense. They are one of the tougher teams in the entire league. Where they struggle is against the 3 ball. So if you didn't want to take the under on Luka's threes, maybe take the under on his points instead. They do rank number 2 in the entire league in terms of shooting guard defense. So that kind of gives you an idea on Luka Doncic. Hasn't been scoring more than 24.5 or 25.5 points per game in his last couple of games. As far as his projected points today, according to NumberFire, 25.5 points. So that would put him over 24.5. That would put him in a virtual tie at 25.5. So I don't know if I'm going to touch this one. Truthfully, I just don't know. But yeah, because I don't feel good taking the over at 24.5. And I also don't feel good ever taking unders on Luka Doncic personally. But that's just the way I roll. Corey says, just curious of how much money PrizePicks would have paid out off Boucher if Boucher goes over yesterday. Probably a lot. I have a feeling Boucher over 20.5 fantasy points made PrizePicks a lot of money because it did not hit. I think they did very well on that player prop. James says, Luka over rebounds. Miami is 10th in allowing rebounds to point guards. So, yeah, I mean, we know Miami in terms of limiting scoring. They're a tough defense. In terms of rebounds, 7.8 is the projected rebound number for Luka Doncic. Let's go ahead and look at it real quick because we've already got all his info pulled up here. 7.5 boards in his last 5 games, guys. 9, 15, 3, 6, and 8. So he's got 3 games in there where he's actually went over 7.5 rebounds. So majority of the games, his last 5 games, he's gone over, right? And then you got the projection suggesting that he should be closer to that 8 rebound mark. Now, you mentioned something about the Miami Heat in terms of their rebounds allowed to a position, in this case, point guard. Luka's kind of more of a combo guard. Yeah, he's really their point guard. But in terms of rebounds allowed, they rank 10th. So I don't know that I'd feel great overall taking the over on Luka Doncic's rebounds. You know, maybe if Bam Adebayo sits, he is a game time decision. We talked about that injury news. That could be very impactful. And maybe more rebounds end up in Luka's hands. Dustin says, is that all on one app? Yes, it is. Props.cash gives you all of this in one app. $19.99 a month gets you access to all the sports, or just do a full NBA season pass for $99.99. Again, link down in the description to get signed up today. Grayson Allen going to let it fly from 3, says Asin. Okay. Yeah, I like Grayson Allen. We know he's a pretty good shooter. I don't think we had him up on the PrizePicks board for his 3-point prop. But if they have the guts to put him up, then we should probably look at some Grayson Allen 3-point props. D. Holmes, PrizePicks. Yes, PrizePicks is the reference site. It's a way to play player props. You take the overs and the unders. You can mix and match sports. They offer NBA, NFL, all the esports you could possibly want, and more. NHL, you name it. They're into some weird stuff too. I mean, weird stuff, like highlight and cricket and like markets that you don't get on other sites. So PrizePicks pretty cool. If you haven't checked it out yet, use the promo code down in the description of this video to get 100% of your first deposit matched instantly. Jimmy Butler over points. Chris, let's look at Jimmy Butler. We haven't talked any Jimmy buckets this morning. He's at 21.5 points. That seems a little bit light. That seems soft. So let's look at Jimmy Butler. I like this so far. 21.5 points. Definitely doable for a guy like Jimmy Butler. Now, I'm not getting any Jimmy Butler props here on props.cash. Let's go ahead and refresh. Maybe they weren't imported yet. So we'll sign back in real quick to props.cash. We'll go back to Miami versus Dallas, and there he is. There's Jimmy Butler. Just a simple refresh gets us back on track. Let's look at his last 5 games. Last 5 games, 60% hit rate at 21.5 points, averaging, though, 26.2 points per game in that span. Now, against Dallas, I don't know what happened here. If somebody can maybe fill me in here in terms of what in the world happened to Jimmy Butler, why he only had 2 points against Dallas. Is this a mistake? Did he get hurt? I don't know what happened in this game, but 2 points from Jimmy Butler just seems uncharacteristic, to say the least. Now, against Dallas, their defense, not very good overall, 20th ranked in terms of this matchup for Jimmy Butler as a shooting guard, 20th ranked as well. So not a very tough matchup for Jimmy Butler. Now, if Bam Adebayo's out, I would expect Jimmy Butler's points prop to be an even more popular play in terms of going over 21.5, because he would assume an even bigger role, probably getting more shots than he would normally. Now, if we look at Jimmy Butler's minutes here, 35.4 minutes per game over his last 5. So getting plenty of run and plenty of shots up too. Things are starting to trend down a little bit. Started off the last 5 games, 22, 21, but then 18, 19, and 12 in his last 3 games. So he's went under 20 field goal attempts in his last 3, averaging 18.4 field goals overall. Now, that game against Dallas, he had just 6 field goal attempts. So I don't know, maybe he got hurt and didn't finish that game. I don't know what happened there. 3-point attempts, not Jimmy Butler's forte, but he does get to the line with pretty good regularity, averaging about 7 free throw attempts per game. So there you go for Jimmy Butler. Let's look at a projection on his points and get this prop out of our face here. And we'll move on to the next one. He's projected for 19.3 points. Again, if Bam Adebayo somehow ends up missing tonight's game, I'd expect this point prop to probably go up from 19.3. His projection would probably go up to over 20. But as of right now, I don't know. I'm probably not going to touch it. Yep, like Bread says, Butler over everything if there's no Bam. Jeff, good morning. Looking at props for today, best play so far is De'Aaron Fox, 1.5 threes. We did talk about that one. He's taken the under, is Jeff, but took the under on Smart's threes last night, and he hit over in the first quarter. Oh, that's the worst. When you take the under on something, and then the guy just blows you away in the first quarter and sends your ass packing. I hate that. I hate that. At least let me sweat it out, you know? Can you look up Holmes' boards and points? We talked about Holmes' boards already. We can look at Holmes' points, though. I don't think we've talked about that one. Of course, a tough matchup here against Utah. We've been beating that theme to death today. Utah, one of the best defensive teams in the league. But at 13 points, he is covered in 3 out of 5 games. In the one game here against Phoenix, he had 12 points, coming really close to 13, just didn't get it done. And then finishes with just 6 against Utah, which is tonight's opponent. So again, tough matchup here for Richaun Holmes. Be careful going over on the boards. Be careful going over on the points because he has kind of struggled in those areas. Let's look up a point prop here for Richaun Holmes as we continue to move through your submissions in chat. Thank you so much for joining me, liking this video, supporting the channel by subscribing, turning on those notifications so you don't miss out on any content. I've got him at 13.9 projected points today, so that puts him really close to 14. They like the over slightly. Over. So I'd probably lean toward the over. Worst case, maybe it pushes. But yeah, I just don't know that I love it with this matchup here against Utah. So not going to go there for me personally on Richaun Holmes' points. I'd probably like his rebounds a little bit more than his points. Just my forte. Anthony says, morning everyone, let's get it. Yes, Anthony, good morning to you too. Over there in the great state of Texas, what's happening? Asin says, how do we feel about 3-point underplays? Gobert, Ayton, any others that you think to parlay? Yeah, we talked about De'Aaron Fox under 3-point makes. That one was looking like a good one. We talked a little bit about Luka Doncic going under on 3-point makes. Mike Conley Jr., no, we don't want to really go there. That looks like more of an over type of situation. Bogdanovich, I think, was another one that we talked about. Hasn't been making 3 or more 3-pointers in his last 5 games. So worst case, this could turn into a push. But yeah, not a lot of 3-point props up on the board just yet on PrizePicks. But that's some of your options. Dustin says, PrizePicks isn't available in his area, but I'm sure I can use this for BetMGM though. Absolutely, Dustin. If you don't play on PrizePicks, all of this stuff translates to any other site out there, which is the beauty of player props. A prop is a prop is a prop. So if you don't play on PrizePicks, that's unfortunate, but you can use this on whatever site you do play on. Markel, what's happening, man? He took the Luka over 7.5 boards, Tyrese Halliburton over 4.5 assists, and Jeremy Grant over 4 boards. Does that sound like a lock to you? Well, I think we talked a little bit about Luka's boards already, 7.5. Let's look at that real quick. 8, 6, 3, 15, and 9. It's kind of wishy-washy. Not seeing enough consistency out of Luka Doncic for my preferences, so that's not one that I'm looking to go to. Tyrese Halliburton over 4.5 assists. Yeah, he kind of plays a little bit of a pseudo point guard role, right? It's not all De'Aaron Fox dominating the ball. Halliburton definitely gets his hands on the basketball, serves as a facilitator at times. So I could see some Tyrese Halliburton. He's at 4, 8, 3, 9, and 6. So again, these are the types of props that I kind of like to stay away from when you're not seeing a good trend or a good consistency, whether that be over or under. Of course, unders do hit at a pretty high clip. I just don't like those types of props. So Jeremy Grant over 4 boards. We could look at Jeremy Grant. It seems like such a low number, right, for Jeremy Grant. 4, 7, 6, 5, and 7. Yeah. I think without digging in too deep, Jeremy Grant at 4 boards presents a little bit of value here. Worst case scenario, the low that he's had in his last 5 games is exactly 4 boards. It might push, and it very well might. But I wouldn't be taking the over on this prop, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and get you a projection, though. Maybe that'll help you out. 4.9 projected rebounds, putting him really close to 5 rebounds. So if you like 4 rebounds, I would take the over here and hope for 5. And worst case, you get a push. Not the end of the world, right? What else do we got here? Mark says, what app is he using? Well, I'm using props.cash to do the player prop research. They got everything you could possibly ask for on props.cash. And then this other site here, this is PrizePicks, a pick'em site where you take the overs and unders on your favorite players and player props. So that could be single stat player props. That could be fantasy point props. But those are the two sites that we're looking at this morning. Thanks for asking, man. Appreciate the question, Mark. Dustin says, app on the right is PrizePicks. Yep. What else we got here, chat? Appreciate you guys viewing and tuning in. 88 viewers. Thank you guys so much, man. So humbling to see you guys here. Yeah, we talked about, Ben, we talked about De'Aaron Fox under points. We did talk about that one, and under 3-point makes. Dorian Finney-Smith over on rebounds. That's been a good one that has worked out for me in the past. Dorian Finney-Smith at 5.5 boards. You could see, guys, 8, 6, 8, just 1 against Denver. Not a good game there, but 6 again in his last game. So yeah, I like the Dorian Finney-Smith over 5.5 rebounds. That one is one that has been hitting with a pretty high success rate. So let's see if we can get you a projected rebound number here for DFS, since we are talking DFS. 5.3 rebounds right now, so they're a little bit bearish on the over for Dorian Finney-Smith, his ability to cover 5.5 rebounds. They're not liking it. They're not liking his chances at just 5.3 of projected rebounds. So it really depends on that Bam Adebayo news. If he's out, then I'd really like the over on Dorian Finney-Smith. But right now, I kind of like the over on Dorian Finney-Smith as it is, as it stands. So yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for pointing that one out. What else do we have here? Yeah, if Kleber's out, Porzingis questionable, then yes, absolutely smack the over on Dorian Finney-Smith. Harrison Barnes over rebounds. Domo 2 Cold 773. Thank you for dropping that one. Harrison Barnes over boards. We talked Harrison Barnes at 16.5 points, liking the over on that one. He's going to have a tough time tonight against this Utah Jazz team. But man, this dude's actually been crushing his rebounds. Kind of flying under the radar. I think most people have been taking his points and having good success with that. But maybe we ought to be looking at these rebounds. 15 against Utah, tonight's opponent. 7 against Golden State. That would have been a push on today's 7 number on PrizePicks. 9 against Phoenix, 12 against New Orleans, and 10 against Dallas. Guys, Harrison Barnes, low-key cleaning the glass lately. Let's dig in a little bit deeper on this one. I can't believe that I have not seen this one come up in chat in the previous days. Harrison Barnes rebounds. We've been all over his points. I know we like to sweat those points, but man, this dude's low-key been crushing these rebounds lately. So he's at 7.5 on most sports books out there. We're getting a little bit of a deal on PrizePicks at 7. I think this one becomes a little more safe to take the over on with him at 7. Because worst case scenario, he ends at 7 rebounds. We're not sweating him getting that 8th board, are we? So in his last 5 games, averaging 10.6 rebounds per game, currently at 7.5 rebounds, guys. You're seeing a minus 134 on the under. That's probably why PrizePicks has taken him from 7.5 and dropped him down to 7. I could tell that a lot of bettors out there are probably not using props.cash and looking at the game logs and the information that we have in front of us. So tisk tisk. That's bad on them. Or maybe they're looking at the Utah defense and how tough they are to rebound against. They ranked 7th overall in rebounds allowed, 15th overall in offensive rebounds, and 5 overall in defensive rebounds. So it could be a combination of both, right? Maybe they're looking at the tough defensive rankings. Maybe they're looking at this number on PrizePicks being moved down to 7, and they're taking the under. I don't know. I would be leaning toward the over. That's just me. Could be a little risky, though, as you can see. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Definitely, if you all dropped a like right now, we'd have 89 likes, and we'd be all the way up there, real close to our goal of 100 likes on these live streams. So if you haven't yet, I appreciate you, and I thank you in advance for doing so. Hayden says, CJ2K, Grayson Allen, or no, because Drew and Middleton out. Grayson Allen would be a yes for me, because of Drew and DiVincenzo and Chris Middleton being out. They don't have a lot of Grayson Allen props up on the board yet. We've got his rebounds up at 4 right now. That could be a good way to go. 4 has kind of been the floor for him in his last 5 games. 6 kind of been the ceiling. He's been right around that, 5 or more rebound per game average. So Grayson Allen boards at 4 might be a little bit of a deal. We've got him up at 14.5 points here on PrizePicks. Let's look at that real quick. 14.5 points, 10, 19, 13, 12, 18. So, not feeling the points as much. I think the rebounds might be a safer way to go based on what we saw there. So, yeah, Grayson Allen could be a great play with the aforementioned players being ruled out already. But I'd probably look at rebounds with the hit rate being what it is. I mean, he's hit 4 or more rebounds in 5 straight games. That's 100% at 4 or more, right? So, yeah, Grayson Allen could be a good way to go. Let's see if I can pull up a rebound projection for Grayson Allen for you. 3.7 rebounds. So they got him right around that 3.7 up to 4 rebound range. That seems like a pretty accurate number. 3.7, obviously a lot closer to 4 than it is 3. So, yeah, I'd be leaning toward the over on this 4 rebound prop on Grayson Allen. Thank you for dropping that one. That was a good one. Appreciate that one. Brett says, Barnes is great across the board, or green across the board. Green across the board. Harrison Barnes. Corey says he locked in a 5-pick flex with your help. Hey, man, I hope this research is helping. If it is, if it's bringing you value, you probably already hit the like button by now. I ain't even got to tell you to do that, Corey. Brett says Osimo is mine. So he uses Osimo to get some of his projections. Osimo, if you were looking for a paid way to do some projections and stuff like that, then Osimo is probably a good way to go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing against them. Kyle Lowry under 14.5 points. Yes. Thanks for dropping this one into the chat, Antoine, because Kyle Lowry has been absolutely horrendous at shooting the basketball this season. This game against Memphis, his former team, he dropped 15 against them. He played for Memphis way back in the day. If you're an old head like me, you probably remember that. But Milwaukee, 5 points, 9 against Orlando, 9 against Brooklyn, 4 against Charlotte. So overall, guys, Kyle Lowry has not done a great job at scoring or shooting this season. So let's go ahead and take a look at Kyle Lowry real quick. Of course, Miami taking on Dallas. We're going to look at the points for Lowry. He's at 14.5 right now. I'm kind of surprised that at 14.5 points that people are actually putting their money on the over on Kyle Lowry. I don't know why. I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not seeing. Maybe it's a matchup thing. They're looking at the matchup here. But in his last 5 games, guys, at 14.5 points, has only hit one time, 20% hit rate, and he barely hit at 15 points. He didn't go way over 14.5, right? He didn't go for 20 or more points and have some big scoring output. So yeah, my first initial reaction would be, let's go under again on Kyle Lowry and make him prove us wrong. If we go down here, Dallas is actually not that bad of a defensive team. 20th overall, that stinks. But in terms of points allowed, top 10. Field goals allowed, top 10. Point guard defense, top 2. Second overall in point guard defense. So yeah, I don't love this Kyle Lowry prop. I don't think he's going to do anything super crazy tonight. Field goal attempts, 8, 11, 8, 10, 8. Not shooting the ball a whole lot, just 9 field goal attempts. He's going to have to be super efficient like he was against Memphis, where he went 5 for 8. So I don't know that he's going to do that. I mean, look at this. This is kind of an outlier, right? 6 3-pointers attempts, 6, 5, 4, and then 5. The previous games, guys, 17, 17, 20, and 0% 3-point field goal percentage. And then he finds the range somehow at 80%. But yeah, I'm not going over on Kyle Lowry. That's for darn sure. I would be going under, if anything, on this prop. Let's get you a projection for his points. They got him at 15.6 points on number fire. So I'm fading the projections in this case. I'd probably be riding with the game logs and take the under on Kyle Lowry. What else do we got here? Harrison Barnes over 7 boards. Yeah, we like that one. Giannis over or under on points. Well, Giannis is going to be asked to do a lot tonight, because he's like the sole survivor here for the Milwaukee Bucks, meaning his team's beat up. We talked about Middleton being out. We talked about Holiday being out. We talked about DiVincenzo being out. So they're going to be shorthanded, right? It's going to be a lot of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I would imagine Grayson Allen gets involved. Pat Connaughton gets involved. But 31.5 points is a big number, guys. A number that he has only went over on one time in his last 5 games. So I don't know. I don't know that I love it. Let's go ahead and look at a projection, though, for Giannis Antetokounmpo as we continue to buzz through your favorite prop plays in the chat. So if you have one that you're looking at, drop it in chat. We'll do the research together live. We'll do it live. 31.4 points, guys. Too close for comfort for me. I would probably look elsewhere. I think we've identified some very solid plays. We don't have to take this prop if we don't want to. So wouldn't want to go super crazy on that Giannis point prop. Brett says, Barnes is a go for points, rebounds, and fantasy score. All right. Corey, De'Aaron Fox points under, Giannis over 1 3-pointer, Rudy over 13.5 rebounds, Conley under 3 rebounds, and Luka under 3 points. So that must be that 5-pick flex entry that you put in over on PrizePicks, which would pay out 10 times your money. 10 times your money if you get all 5 of those picks right. Good luck to you, Corey. I hope it works out for you. Luka playing with fire. Jimmy Butler over on points. We talked about that one already, Greg. Not loving it. It could work out, though, if Bam Adebayo sits. That's going to be a big what if. What else do we have here, chat? Thank you guys for dropping all these in here. I don't mind helping you whatsoever. Somebody in the chat, can you give Nick Show the lock of the day? Of course, there are no locks. I don't believe in that word when it comes to daily fantasy sports, when it comes to prop picks, when it comes to sports betting. There are no locks. Come on now. Come on. You got to know better than that, Nick. No locks. The only lock is whenever that money hits your account and that prop comes through, the over, the under, whatever way you go on that, whatever that one prop is. But yeah, no locks. Never a lock on this stream, unfortunately. Milwaukee, I beat up Sobion and Grant over rebounds. Sadiq Bey maybe and Jeremy Grant over rebounds. Oh yeah, Bey and Grant over rebounds. Okay, cool. Bey and Grant. Yeah, we talked about Grant. Grant would be a good look. Jimmy Butler over on points. Yeah, I don't know. Nurse hates Boucher. Apparently, man, Boucher was a drag, a total letdown. Grant over rebounds. Yeah, we talked about Grant over rebounds. We're going to be wrapping things up here in the next 5 minutes, guys. Some of the viewers are starting to kind of, dwindle. We're at 69. Ooh, la la. 69 viewers, 66 viewers. Yeah, so we're going to wrap things up. I think we've hit on most of the good plays on this small NBA slate tonight. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and showing your love and support. Westbrook under rebounds. He only gets a lot of boards if Braun and AD sits out. Yeah, that's going to be one of those ones, Nino, where we got to kind of wait and see what the news kind of gives us. Last night or maybe it was 2 nights ago, we were waiting on the LeBron news, the AD news. So definitely if one of the 2 mega stars for the Los Angeles Lakers, Braun or AD sits, then you got to go take maybe some Russell Westbrook over rebounds. Kyle Lowry under 2.5 3-point makes a lock. Well, you know how I feel about the word lock. There's no such thing, right? But we talked about liking the under on his points. I think this kind of ties into the under on his points, going under on his 3-point makes. Definitely a good way to go. Unless you believe that he's found the fountain of youth or the 3-ball somehow in one game against Memphis. But I'd be going back to the under on Kyle Lowry at 2.5 3-point makes. So yeah, I think that makes some sense. What else we got? Sadiq Bey averages about 8 boards a game. Okay, so we're going back to that Sadiq Bey rebound prop. Rudy Gobert over on boards. We talked about Rudy Gobert over rebounds. Could be a decent play. I think he's a little bit lower over on PrizePicks than he is on some of the sites out there. He's at 13.5 on PrizePicks, 14.5 on most of your sports books. So we're getting about a 1 rebound value play there on Rudy Gobert's rebounds. So yeah, that one's not terrible. Kevin Porter Jr. over 18.5 points and rebounds. So we don't have Kevin Porter Jr. up on the board yet, I don't think, here on PrizePicks. But we can take a look at that one using props.cash because they do support those types of player props where they combine 2 different props into one and you have to choose the over or the under. So we could take a look at that. Houston versus the Los Angeles Lakers, Kevin Porter, and you were interested in points and rebounds. Boom. We got it. Points and rebounds. 18.5. He's at 18.5 right here on props.cash. So in his last 5 games in terms of covering this prop, has only done so in 2 out of 5, just a 40% cover rate. There's been 3 games where he went under, kind of came close here at 18 and 18. So I could see this one kind of breaking either way, but the numbers seem to suggest that going under on this prop might be your best bet. 17.2 points and rebounds per game average in his last 5. Now against LA, he had 1 game That was October 31st. That was Halloween, where he dropped 22. So if you think he can kind of repeat what he did against the Lakers the other night, then yeah, I think maybe you could take the over. What else do we have here? Hopefully that helps you out, my friend. Marty says, I have Luka Doncic under 8.5 assists. Yeah, he could be forced into more of a scoring role. Luka's assist has been one that I've been clicking the under on. I liked him more at 9.5 assists, but I can understand why they bumped him down to 8. He did have 10 in his last game back on Halloween, 4, 5, 7, and 12. So most of the time, and at least in his last 5 games, he's going under 8.5 assists. So yeah, I think Luka under 8.5 assists could be a move. Let's get you a projection on this. 8.7. So 8.7 on NumberFire, 8.5 over on PrizePicks. So yeah, you might want to be careful with it. Be careful with it. I don't know if I love it, but it could certainly be a move based on what we've seen in his last 5 games. Donovan Mitchell scoring. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell has the volume going for him. That's for sure. He gets a lot of shots up there. There's no doubt about that. Where is Donovan Spida Mitchell? 26.5 today over on PrizePicks in his last 2 games, 31 and 30. Maybe he's found something here. Maybe he's starting to find that shot. If we go back against Sacramento, which is tonight's opponent, he drops 27 against them. So at 26.5 projected points, yeah, I think going over based on that previous game log against Sacramento where he gets 27. Based on these 2 more recent sample sizes where he's got 30 and 31, I think going over on Donovan Mitchell can make some sense for you. Let's look and see if we can get you a projection on that prop. Donovan Mitchell, 25.8 projected points. This is one of those ones, you're going to be sweating it out. You could go either way on this prop, but I would be leaning toward the over based on the historical information that we have available to us. So I don't mind that whatsoever. Don't mind that one at all. The game's just going to have to stay close. That's going to be the theme, right? Is it a blowout? Or does Sacramento find a way to keep it close? They did keep it close for the most part, if I remember correctly, in that first previous meeting against the Utah Jazz. So maybe they can do it again tonight, or maybe Utah just comes out and blows the brakes off of them, and you got to hope Donovan Mitchell is the reason why they blow him out. Talul Booker. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. 10-team points league. Oh, God. If this is fantasy basketball related, Talul, I will refer to or defer to the chat. Maybe the chat can help you out. I don't really play season-long fantasy a whole lot, mostly into the daily fantasy sports scene, prop picks and stuff like that. So I'm not the best guy to ask fantasy basketball questions to. I wouldn't know, value in the Mike Conley, Evan Fournier, Kelly Oubre for Michael Porter Jr. trade. I wouldn't know, but maybe the chat does know. Maybe there's somebody in here who does play season-long fantasy basketball. Christian Wright is asking about Christian Wood on the under. Christian Wood under on what, though? We got to have that detail, that information. He's at 18.5 points. Are you thinking about going under on his points based on his last 3 games where he scored 16? If so, that could be a move. That could definitely be a move. Christian Wood has not been scoring the basketball great. They're facing LA again. He had 16 against LA in the previous matchup back on Halloween. So, what else do we got here, guys? Giannis over on 3-pointers. Yeah, somebody else in the chat already talked about Giannis going over 0.5 3-pointers. He's shooting a little bit better this year. You're right. And with some of the guys that we mentioned before, Chris Middleton, DiVincenzo, Drew Holiday out of the lineup, then I could definitely see Giannis Antetokounmpo hitting at least 1. Hopefully you get 2 3-pointers out of him so that he goes over this 1 3-point make prop over on PrizePicks. But yeah, he's going to be forced into scoring more points. Hopefully he gets at least 1 or 2 threes for you tonight. I don't have projections on the 3-point makes for Giannis, unfortunately. Giannis over on rebounds. He's going to be Mr. Do-It-All, do everything tonight. He's going to have to be. No Brook Lopez. That's another big one. So that'll open up some space in the paint for Giannis to operate more inside. So you could definitely look at maybe going over his rebound prop. They've currently got him at 10.8 projected rebounds over on NumberFire. So you can kind of see how that lines up here. He's got 2 games where he's went over 12.5. So it's not a prop that's been hitting with a great success rate over the last 5, not a high hit rate. But yeah, he's going to have to step into Mr. Superman role, we'll just say. I think Shaq said he's the only one worthy of the Superman nickname. Not Dwight Howard, apparently. But yeah, Giannis is going to be full Superman tonight. Royce O'Neal under rebounds. Let's take a quick look at it as I wrap this stream up. I appreciate these last-minute questions that are coming in. Your boy's starting to get hungry. I didn't eat breakfast. I got to go get some lunch, y'all. And y'all probably do too. Breakfast or lunch is definitely on the menu. 5.5 rebounds. He has gone under 4 out of his last 5 games. So not a very high hit rate for Royce O'Neal. Against Sacramento, which is tonight's opponent, had just 4 rebounds in that game. So he went under by like 2 rebounds versus where he would need to be to go over 5.5. So Royce O'Neal under 5.5 rebounds has a very nice hit rate in the last 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at his projection on Number Fire. 6.4 projected boards. Do you believe it? Do you buy into these projections? I don't know, man. His game logs tell a different story than these projections. For me, I'd have to say, prove it, Royce O'Neal. Prove that you can get at least 6 rebounds again like you did against Houston. I'd be riding on the under for Royce O'Neal and say, fade those projections. Fade those projections. Bron and AD's up on PrizePicks now. Thanks for dropping that, Roosevelt. I appreciate that information. Rudy Gobert points. We talked Rudy points. We talked Rudy Gobert points over. Yep. Benji says, I lost a cool 40 quick. Listen, it happens. A, don't put more out there than you can afford to lose. B, live to bet another day. Don't go all in. Don't put, some crazy number out there because your gut's telling you this is the night where this prop hits. You got to, have that bankroll management in check. Have that bankroll management in check. Donovan Mitchell points. Yeah, we talked about that one, Christian. And De'Aaron Fox drops 21 points and still goes under. Yeah, we were liking the under on De'Aaron Fox. We'll make that the last one we talk about, and then I'm getting my butt up out of here. But at 22.5 points, we definitely were feeling the under on De'Aaron Fox. He only had 12 points against Utah just a few nights ago, October 22nd, against the same Jazz team. I don't think a whole lot changes for De'Aaron Fox. The one game that he did go over 22.5 in his last 5 was against New Orleans, and it's not like he had 30 points. He went barely over at 23, so I'd be leaning toward the under on De'Aaron Fox. But I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully today's video helped you out. If you got into the stream late, no worries. Just because you didn't catch it live doesn't mean you still can't go back and watch the replay. Definitely leave a like on this if it helped you out in any way. And if you're not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of the future streams. I appreciate you guys so much. Trill Fate, I moved the Fox prop. I moved the De'Aaron Fox prop. Oh, Lord. Maybe this live stream's doing work. Maybe somebody's watching out there. I don't know. Until the next one, guys, I will catch you then. Peace out. I'm out of here. I got to go drink my water. Got to go get me some lunch.